So in this video I'm going to be talking about some players from the Premier League who I think are good options for Manchester United to sign in the summer. I'm going to be assuming that either Pochettino or Ten Hag take over at the end of the season, and so I will specify if I'm going to sign a player specifically for Pochettino or Ten Hag's system, looking at the role they would play and how much they would cost, and I'll also specify if there are any conditions where I wouldn't sign the player. But before I go any further, let me tell you about today's sponsor, which is Oper GX, which is a free to download browser that has everything you need to be your main browser on both your PC and on your phone. My favourite feature about Oper GX is that it's got a built-in VPN, which means that you don't have to buy your own, saving you money and giving you access to Netflix and YouTube content from around the world that you usually would be unable to watch. Also, when you are watching a YouTube video, you can click off the tab onto another and your YouTube video will pop up off browser in the corner so you can watch it whilst doing something else, which is perfect if you are doing some boring admin work and you do occasionally want to glance at a YouTube video that you are listening to without having to click off the tab. Oper GX is a browser that is also perfect for gamers. By clicking the gamer icon, you are provided with hand-picked free games every month, whilst also showing you the latest gaming news, and it's extremely easy to access your favourite websites and apps with Twitch, Reddit and YouTube all accessible with one click. Its main feature however is MyFlow, which enables you to sync Oper GX on your PC with Oper GX Mobile, allowing you to send links, videos and notes to yourself simply, whilst also being encrypted, so you don't even need a login, account or a password, you just have to scan the QR code from your phone. It's also got a built-in ad and cookie dialog blocker, which is extremely useful especially when streaming football matches, and it also allows you to customize your background and color scheme, giving your browser its own unique look. A link will be left in the description below, and by downloading Oper GX you will be helping to support the channel. So let's start off with a player who I think has moved into the world-class bracket over the past season or so, and that is Chelsea's Antonio Rudiger, who has just turned 29 and probably entering his peak. He'd be available on a free as his contract at Chelsea expires at the end of the season, and at the moment at least Chelsea are unable to extend the deal due to the sanctions on Abramovich, which I did do a whole video about looking at the connection to Putin, and I'll leave that video linked in the description below. Rudiger has a physicality and pace to play in a high defensive line, so would suit the aggressive pressing styles of either Poch or Ten Hag. He's also able to play on the left side of a back 2 or a back 3, and is a very good ball playing centre back as well, being able to drive forward with the ball and switch to play with long passes to progress the ball forward. His FBref report shows this ability, as over the past 365 days, when compared against every other centre back in Europe's top 5 leagues, he sits in the 88th percentile for progressive carries and the 89th percentile for progressive passes. He's a fantastic one-on-one defender as well, completing 1.2 tackles per 90 in the Premier League this season, whilst only being dribbled past 0.3 times per 90, giving him an impressive tackle success rate of 80%. He's got pretty much everything you would want in a modern day defender, and I'd say that he's currently the third if not the second best centre back in the Premier League, behind only Virgil van Dijk, and so would be an incredible signing for United, likely commanding a signing on fee of around £15 million and a weekly wage of around £250,000, which I think is a fantastic deal for a player of Rudiger's quality. Next on the list is Leicester's Youri Tielemans, who would be the exact type of creative central midfielder that United need. It's no secret that United lack incisive passing ability and all-round creativity from those deeper midfield positions, and Tielemans would provide this in abundance, having the vision and passing ability to work the ball into players between the lines or switch to play more directly out to the flanks. He's a lot more press resistant in deep areas than any of United's current midfield options, which would definitely be welcomed in either Pochettino or Ten Hag's system, with both focusing on playing out of the defensive third, even under intense pressure. So Tielemans' ability to swivel and drive out of pressure will enable United to do this a lot more successfully than if Fred, McTominay or Matic was in his role. And we can see this sort of ability by looking at his FBref report, as he ranks in the 90th percentile for progressive passes and the 72nd for progressive carries, whilst also sitting in the 89th for expected assists and the low 80s for non-penalty XG and non-penalty goals, showing Tielemans is also a threat in the final third, with his long shooting around the box and his ability to create goal scoring opportunities, which United will need from midfield, particularly with Paul Pogba looking likely to depart at the end of his contract. Tielemans will have 1 year left on his Leicester contract come the summer, so that's why Leicester are reportedly only asking for a fee in the region of £35 million, because they do risk losing him on a free next summer if they don't sell him this summer. That's an absolute bargain for a player who is already top level and has the potential to become world class in the next few years, and he's still only 24-25 in May. The next player on my list is Declan Rice, however this one does have a caveat at the end which I will explain. Rice has been without doubt one of the best central midfielders in the Premier League over the past season or so, being a top level ball winning central midfielder, able to race across the pitch and put in tackles to break up the opposition's attack, or move out of the midfield line to anticipate a pass and make an interception. This type of ball winning ability is exactly what United have been lacking in central midfield, with Matic not having the athleticism of Rice, while Fred and McTominay aren't great one-on-one defenders in those situations in the middle of the pitch. Rice's ability to play as United's deepest midfielder and break up attacks will allow the player next to him in midfield to push higher up the pitch and also protect United from counter-attacks, whilst also enabling them to sustain their own attacks by winning the ball back quickly, either in a high pressing situation or at the start of the opposition's counter-attack. Whilst Rice isn't exactly the regista type that Ten Hag may be looking for in his 4-3-3 system, I think he would suit Pochettino's system, as he does tend to use more of a midfield double pivot of some form, and Rice's dribbling ability through the centre of the pitch will provide United with the ability to progress the ball forward quickly, which is something that Matic, Fred and McTominay all lack. The only issue I see with a deal for Rice is the fee that West Ham may command, which I suspect would be in the region of £80 million, which is far too high, particularly for a player who has just 2 years left on his current contract. I would say that United should pay at most £60 million, and even that would be excessive. I think around £50 million would be a fair value, but that may require Rice himself to try to push through the move, or maybe United could throw in a player into the deal to go the other way, with McTominay or Wan-Bissaka, two players coming to mind. But if signed, despite the transfer fee, I think Rice would be an excellent signing in midfield alongside a more creative player, and Rice only turned 23 in January, so he still has at least another decade or so at the top level. Another Premier League central midfielder who United should be targeting is Wolves' Ruben Neves, who like Rice will have just 2 years left on his current contract come the summer, but would likely be significantly cheaper than Rice, with Wolves probably demanding a fee around £35 to £40 million. Neves, however, is a different type of central midfielder to Rice, being more of a creator than a ball winner, as Neves excels when it comes to long raking passes over the back line, for on-running attackers, or sitting deep in possession and being able to ping a pass out to the flank to find one of the wide attackers or fullbacks. He reminds me a lot of Xabi Alonso in this sense, and I would categorise him as a top-level central midfielder right now, and I think he has a potential, given that he's only 25, to go on and have a similar level of career to the former Liverpool and Real Madrid man. Out of possession, Neves is pretty good as well, so would suit playing in a midfield double pivot, or could even play as a deep single pivot in a regista role himself, as he's a good standing tackler, allowing him to win the ball back in central positions, whilst also being a good reader of the game, enabling him to make interceptions which would suit the pressing styles of both Pochettino and Ten Hag. And we can see this by looking at his FB Riff report, which shows that he ranks in the 70th percentile for interceptions, the 83rd for tackles, and the 63rd for pressures, showing Neves' defensive capabilities, and this would make him perfect for a midfield role in either Pochettino or Ten Hag's system. There is also a bonus with Neves, which is his long shooting ability, which is why he ranks in the 80th percentile for non-penalty goals with 0.12 per 90. Rafinha of Leeds is another player who I think would be a fantastic addition to Manchester United's squad. United need a right-sided attacker, and Rafinha can play on the touchline holding his width, looking to receive the ball and then take on the fullback or cut inside for a shot or a cross. He reminds me a lot of Angel Di Maria, having a similar sort of technique and excellent delivery, whether this is from his long passing or from crossing situations. If we look at his FB Ref report, we can see his ability. He ranks in the 80th percentile or higher for dribbles, expected assists and progressive passes, three extremely valuable metrics for wide attackers. I think Rafinha playing in front of an offensive overlapping right back would work perfectly, with the right back, for example Diego Dalot, providing the runs down the outside, which would create space for Rafinha to then cut back inside on his left foot where he can look for a pass or a cross. With his contract expiring in 2024, he'd likely cost around £50 million, but given he's still only 25 and has the potential to be world class, I think he'd be a fantastic long-term deal for United. Now, there are other players who United could sign in the Premier League, so if you want to see a second part to this video, make sure you give the video a like, subscribe and click the bell as well. But the final player on my list is going to be Leicester's Wilfred Ndidi. Now, Ndidi is a ball winner like Declan Rice, however the two do have a few differences. Ndidi is much more of an anchor man, a player whose sole job is to win the ball back out of possession, and so Ndidi is very much a sole ball winner. He is still decent in possession, circulating the ball well, and having a good range of passing, but he's world class defensively. This can be seen as he ranks in the 99th percentile for tackles completed, the 96th for interceptions, and the 84th for pressures, showing how good indeed he is without the ball. Not only would he break up opposition attacks for United, being that protector in front of the back line, but he could also be pushed further forward when United look to press aggressively, and so his intercepting and tackling abilities could be weaponised in the final third, using a counter-pressing style, which is a kind of press that both Ten Hag and Pochettino would like to deploy to some degree. United would need to bring in a creative central midfielder alongside Ndidi if he was to be signed, but United would arguably be getting the best ball-winning central midfielder in world football. Ndidi is also only 25, and because of his contract situation at Leicester, I reckon United could probably land him for between 50 and 60 million pounds, which would be very expensive, but would still be a very good signing in my opinion. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that video, subscribe to the channel and click the bell. Check out the description for the link to Oper GX. Just by downloading it, you will be helping to support the channel, and I'll also leave some other videos linked down there as well.